So there are many times in my, these remarks are going to be completely informal, by the way. There's nothing formal I have prepared. There are many times in my academic career that I felt like an imposter, but I think never so much as today when I'm talking to a group of education experts about education. This is not my field of study, obviously, but so I'm going to just give you some of my own thoughts on the subject that we are highlighting today. I have to say that I was very happy when I saw the word education exchange rather than student exchange. Universities really have two roles, the creation of knowledge and the dissemination of knowledge. And in some sense, our international exchanges have to focus at some level on both of these. And there's never been a better time in my mind to focus on this subject because we live in a world that every day seems to be coming apart at the seams just a little bit more. Every day there are stories of conflict, war, politics, everything seems to be tearing us apart more and more. And in this world, I think even universities have come under steady, constant attack. Although I don't know whether I should say even universities, it's not only authoritarian regimes that tend to look at universities with a mixture of both admiration and suspicion. Universities are home to free thinkers. Free thinkers involve seditious thought, often disruptive thought. Universities are engines of disruption, of innovation, and it's not everybody who always welcomes those aspects of it. But to me, it is more important than ever before in today's world that universities not only model what they have always been in this world, but actually lead, to use a time-worn cliche, lead the change we would all like to see in this world. What is it that makes universities different from others? In some sense, universities are like every other sector of the economy. We are all fiercely competitive. We compete for faculty, we compete for students, we compete for talent all the time. We all claim to above rankings. We all want to be considered a top 5 department, a top 3 department of philosophy, a top 6 department of finance, a top 10 department of neuroscience. We love talking of ourselves in competitive terms. And although we all recognize all the shortcomings in rankings, we can't help looking at them every now and then to see whether the rest of the world recognizes we are as good as we think we are. So we are, in that sense, we don't have stock prices, we are not commercial institutions, but our rankings, in some sense, whether we like them or not, function as our stock prices, and we want the world to acknowledge how good we are. So we keep looking at them. In that sense, we are like every other part of the economy, every other part of the world. But where universities are very different is their extraordinary operations and their collaborative structure that is, in fact, central to our very soul as institutions. When faculty come to join our institutions, we encourage them, we urge them, we push them into collaborating with researchers from other universities. When the time comes for promotion, we write to researchers in other universities asking them what they think of our faculty's work. I wanted to pause for just 1 minute to think about how unusual this is in the context of the world's arrangements. Pharmaceutical companies, even when working on life-saving drugs, don't ask their researchers to work with researchers from other companies in creating those drugs. Our main product is our research, and we take pride in the collaboration in which we create that research and then we put it out in the public domain. When Walker Lipton wants to promote one of its associates to partner, they don't call up Cravat and ask them, what do you think of this person? Should we promote her to partner? JP Morgan does not ask Goldman Sachs' opinion of their analysts when they want to promote them to associates. We rely on our competitors' opinions of our faculty to promote them. I wanted to pause for a minute and just think about how unusual this is. This model of collaboration, of competing while collaborating for the common good, is something that is at the very soul, as I said, of universities. And it is really what sets universities apart from almost any other sector of human activity. But there is another peculiarity of universities that doesn't stand out quite so well. Universities have been around hundreds of years, Oxford since 1185, Harvard since 1636. Other universities, NYU will be 200 years old in a short while. Despite having been around for so long, universities have largely tended to stay geographically put in one place, physical location in just one place. You want to experience Oxford, you come to the UK. Oxford is not going to come to you. In every other endeavor of human activity, people try to branch out to other parts of the world, to reach out to other parts of the world, and to offer their services and their products to other parts of the world. The Goldman Sachs, the McKinseys, the NBA, the NFL, anybody what they're trying to always broaden their reach, broaden their outlook, broaden their influence. Not so universities. Universities have largely tended to remain put in one place and in some sense take advantage of scarcity, saying, you want to experience us, you come here. It's only in recent times that has begun to change. And for a long time, this model has worked very well, I have to say. American universities have long been the envy of the world. People have flocked here for decades, and these people have served two purposes. They've either gone back to their home countries, and many of them have become national leaders, corporate leaders, leaders in nonprofits, major researchers, and others, in some sense, spreading the soft power of America around the world in a way that numbers cannot capture. We talk about education as one of the most successful exports of the US, but we talk about it in crude dollars and cents terms. The major export of the US in higher education has been the soft power that it exports annually through the hundreds of thousands of students who study here and experience American life on a first-hand basis. But it's not only those who go back. Those who stay on have proved an incredibly important pool of talent to drive America's economy. If you'll pardon a little bit of a parochial reference, I happen to be Indian. And because I happen to be Indian, so many people have come and told me, it's really amazing how many people of Indian origin are at the heads of various American institutions, iconic institutions, the McKinseys, even United Airlines, Google, Amazon. You think of it, there are so many institutions. And I point out to them that every single one of those people, whether it is the politicians you're talking about like Nikki Haley or Kamala Harris, or whether it is the CEOs you're talking about like Sundar Pichai at Google or Satya Nadella at Microsoft, they all came here because of higher education. Higher education is a critical link that either brought them over or brought their parents over to America. Higher education has done more to bring the world together than any other sector of the American economy, trade included. There's something very, very special about higher education in that context. But the rootedness of higher education has meant that other people get to experience America by coming here. American students do not equally get to experience the world. And this is one aspect that is slowly, one is discerning a change in this trend. NYU, of course, was a pioneer long before, when globalization was barely a buzzword. NYU had started establishing campuses abroad. Actually, before it was a buzzword, our first campus, foreign campus, was in Madrid in 1958 in Franco's time. I don't know how many of you know this, but over 100 years ago, NYU pioneered a semester at sea where our students went on a ship from country to country, and they actually maintained academic continuity while doing that. So NYU has been an incredible pioneer of providing our students with an international experience in ways that other institutions are only now beginning to open their eyes to and developing. And we've established, as all of you know, 2 other degree granting campuses around the world, 13 other sites at which our students can go and study, maintain academic continuity, but experience a different culture, a different language, a different region of the world. That much has been to the good. Now, what are the 2 main challenges in my mind? Lots of institutions are now beginning to imitate this, emulate this, try and create those student exchanges for their students to experience the world. But what are, in my mind, 2 big challenges that we're going to face in the next 15 or 20 years? Again, if you forgive me, I'm going to talk from a very narrow standpoint, that of NYU. NYU has, as I said, set up these 13 study away sites apart from the 2 campuses. Those campuses have largely served as a place for our students to go and experience London or Florence or Paris or Accra or Buenos Aires or Tel Aviv. That's fantastic. But the next step that we should be thinking about is what more can we do with those campuses there? Now that we are there, how do we draw the world into NYU through those campuses? How do we make those campuses serve as embassies of NYU in those places? Not only send our students there, but have people interact with NYU through those campuses. That is something we're thinking about very actively, which brings me really to the second point of the challenge of in internationalizing education, in international education, the frontiers. Research is something that has always been global in nature. Wherever faculty reside, research has always been very global. And international collaborations and research have flourished across the globe in a number of ways. You see papers now written by hundreds of authors from dozens of countries on a single topic. These are not uncommon anymore, and even in some cases, even thousands of authors. But research so far has almost entirely been driven by individual faculty and their interests. It's not been driven very much by institutional collaborations. Institutional collaborations, even within the US, are very rare. It's only faculty collaborations that happen. I think as institutions begin to widen their physical footprint and begin to widen their international outlook, we also need to think of models of institutional collaboration. And this is perhaps the biggest challenge that we have, because unlike commercial organizations, we cannot tell our faculty, I want you to drop everything you're doing and go and work on a COVID cure. This is simply not possible for us to do. We are institutions where everything is driven from the bottom up, but more than ever, that common investment in physical resources is required to draw talent into collaborating across the globe. So I think these are the two big challenges we face as we go ahead. And one, as you know, in many ways, again, NYU has been in the forefront of this in the tie-up, for example, with KAIST in Korea, or in the operations of Abu Dhabi or the campuses in Shanghai, where we actually encourage a lot of global research through our physical footprints. But there are enormous opportunities still remaining. Every challenge presents an opportunity. And I think these are the ones that I think of as really the universities leading the world 20 years from now are going to be those that have established these very strong collaborative research partnerships across the globe. What the model for that will be, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, thank you very much. Thanks.